The way you interpret the world is shaped by what you believe. When your beliefs align with your reality, your actions are effective and you're more likely to reach your goals. But when your beliefs are inaccurate, your actions become ineffective and you often fall short. Let's break this down. Accurate beliefs, correct thoughts, good decisions, effective results. Inaccurate beliefs, erroneous thoughts, poor decisions, ineffective results. Let's take an example. Imagine you just broke up with your partner. If you believe they're entirely to blame, you think there's no need for introspection. As a result, you won't address any behaviors that may have contributed to the relationship's decline. When you enter a new relationship, you're likely to face the same issues. But if you believe both partners share responsibility, you'll reflect on what you can improve, leading to better outcomes in future relationships. To make better decisions, you need to improve your model of reality. How? By questioning your assumptions and striving to see the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. Accept that you know far less than you think and continuously refine your thinking. Let's break this down further. First, understand the probabilistic nature of the world. Life is full of uncertainties and there's rarely a guaranteed outcome. Acknowledging probabilities helps you prepare for various scenarios and makes more balanced decisions. Next, eliminate cognitive biases. These mental shortcuts can distort your thinking and lead to poor decisions. For example, confirmation bias makes you seek information that supports your beliefs while ignoring contradictory evidence. By identifying and addressing these biases, you can think more clearly and make better decisions. Finally, redefine risk. Many people feel failure so much that they avoid taking action altogether. But avoiding risk often means missing out on great opportunities. Instead of focusing on potential loss, consider the potential gain. Ask yourself, what's the worst case scenario and how could I recover from it? We live in a world of probabilities, yet many people act as if life is certain. When they succeed, they think they're smart, and when they fail, they think they're unlucky or foolish. But reality doesn't work like this. If I do X, I'll get Y, is how many think. The truth is, if I do X, there's a probability I'll get Y. Understanding this shift can transform how you approach decisions. Think of the future as a series of parallel universes, each with its own probability of unfolding. You can't predict which one will occur, but you can make educated guesses. Most decisions exist on a spectrum, from highly unlikely to highly likely. Let's explore some examples. Some events are unlikely, but if they're not impossible, for instance, getting fired from a secure job, even in a stable position, factors like economic downturns or unexpected mistakes can lead to termination. Dying as a healthy 20-year-old, while the probability is low, accidents or unforeseen events can happen. Predicting an economic crisis, even if you can get it right, it may just be luck, as the probability of crisis occurring in a year is never zero. On the other hand, some events are likely or highly likely. For instance, your favorite cafe being open tomorrow. It happens nearly every day, so the probability is extremely high. The sun rising tomorrow, based on its lifespan, the probability of this happening is as close to 100% as you can get. The bottom line, decisions exist on a spectrum of probabilities. The better way to view decisions is to think of them as bets on the future you want. For example, you can play a perfect poker hand and still lose. You can follow a proven sales pitch and fail to close a deal. You can eat healthy and exercise but still develop a rare disease. Life isn't about winning every time. It's about making good bets consistently enough to succeed over time. Long-term thinking is key. Each action you take is a calculated bet towards your goals. For instance, every book an author writes is a bet. Even with great content, promotion and design, there's no guarantee it will sell, but over time, by writing consistently and learning from setbacks, the odds move in the author's favor. The same applies to any goal. The more calculated bets you make, the more likely you are to create the future you want. The world is probabilistic. Sometimes you'll do everything right but still fall short. The key is to keep making the best bets possible over and over until you become lucky. This brings us to our next point. Luck isn't random. It's the result of making good decisions, calculated bets over and over again. To get lucky, you must make better decisions more often and for a longer period. For example, someone who commits to a goal for 3 to 5 years is far more likely to succeed over time than likely. Find the right strategy, build the necessary skills, meet the right people. Professional poker players provide a great analogy for creating luck. Their success comes from consistently making good bets based on probabilities. Yet, even the best players can play well for months and still lose. Similarly, you might make excellent decisions and still fail to see immediate results. The key is to keep going, to make better bets and increase your odds over time. Assessing probabilities is subjective, but with practice you can improve. Start by thinking in terms of probabilities whenever you face a decision. For example, what are the odds you'll lose £20 in the next year? What's the probability of getting a promotion in 6 months? What are the chances you'll succeed in an actor within 5 years? Humans tend to overestimate the chances. To offset this, adjust your probabilities conservatively. For example, if you think you'll have an 80% chance of hitting your weight loss goal, lower it to 50%. If you believe there's a 70% chance of getting a promotion, reduce it to 50%. This approach brings you closer to a reality and encourages you to take action to improve your odds. Challenge your initial assessments. Why did you choose 50% instead of 40% or 20%? Reflecting on these questions will help you refine your reasoning and improve your ability to assess probabilities. The more you practice predicting outcomes, the better your assessments will become. Predict anything. The likelihood of passing a test, whether a stock price will rise in 3 years, the odds of meeting a life partner within 6 months. Once you've assessed your odds, take steps to improve them. For example, if your weight loss goal is 50% chance, hire a coach or find an accountability partner. If your promotion odds are low, ask your supervisor for feedback or guidance. If your acting dream feels out of reach, audition for a prestige school or move to an area with better opportunities. The key is to take deliberate action to move closer to your goals. Luck is about making good decisions over and over again. You are ultimately responsible for evaluating your odds and putting in the work to improve them. To apply these ideas, complete 3 exercises. Identify a few probabilities in your life: passing an exam, landing a job, or succeeding at a goal. Write down your estimated odds based on what you know. Refine your estimates by challenging your assumptions. Then, to increase your odds of success, think of one decision that turned out well and one that didn't. Write down the odds at the time you made each decision. Note what you could have done to improve your chances. Repeat this process to sharpen your decision-making skills and increase your odds of success over time. Ideally, we know everything we need to make the best decisions, but in reality, our thinking is full of errors. These are called cognitive biases, and they often lead us astray. Let's explore one of the most common and costly biases, the sunk cost fallacy. The sunk cost fallacy is when we continue to pursue something just because we've already invested significant resource into it, time, money, or energy. This bias makes us focus on what we've already spent rather than the opportunities we're missing out on. Here are some examples. Staying in a toxic relationship because you put years into it, even though it prevents healing and happiness. Remaining in a soul-crushing job because it feels too late to start over, even if it keeps you from building a fulfilling career. Throwing more money into a failing business instead of pivoting to a more successful venture. In all these cases, resources are spent on a flawed endeavor while better opportunities are ignored. To combat the sunk cost fallacy, use zero-based thinking. Start with a blank slate and ask yourself, knowing what I know now, if I were to start over, would I still choose this? This question helps you evaluate your current trajectory and decide if you want to recommit. Let's apply this thinking to different areas of your life. Relationships. If you had to recommit to your current relationship today, would you do so? Career. If you had to reapply for your job, would you? Finance. If you could move your money, would you reinvest in the same way? And lifestyle. If you could live anywhere, would you choose the same city or country? Hobbies. If you had no hobbies, would you pick the same ones again? Adjusting your trajectory isn't about changing everything overnight. It's about becoming aware of your past decisions and realigning your actions with your goals. Remember, how much you've already invested is irrelevant. The only thing that matters is whether what you're doing now brings you closer to your aspirations. Here's how to apply zero-based thinking. For each area of your life, ask, what would you do if you were starting over? Write down your thoughts and reflect on whether your current path aligns with your goals. Rate yourself on how often you fall for cognitive biases like the sunk cost fallacy. By practicing this, you'll make decisions that focus on the future, not the past, and align with the life you want to build. The status quo bias is a tendency to assume that your future will mirror your past. It's the belief that your ability to grow is limited and that your past defines your potential. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Your past doesn't predict your future, your imagination does. By envisioning yourself smarter, better, and wiser, you gain the motivation to act. Your imagination helps you break free from the limits of your past and create a new trajectory. Small, consistent steps each day can create extraordinary results over time. For example, walk around the block daily and a few years later you're running marathons. Read a little each day and 5 years later you'll read dozens of life-changing books. Practice the piano regularly and 10 years later you're playing pieces you once thought impossible. The point is, you're not limited by your past. Stop setting goals based on what you think is possible. Instead, choose goals that excite and stretch you. Let them push you to grow you into a better version of yourself. Then take small, consistent steps towards those goals every day. Where you are now is just the beginning. It doesn't determine where you'll be tomorrow. Here's how to overcome the status quo bias. Write down ways you've been letting your past dictate your future. Identify one thing you could start doing differently today to move towards that life you want. Small changes can lead to massive transformation. Take the first step today. The present bias is our tendency to focus on the present at the expense of the future. The bias made sense in the past when survival demanded daily focus. But today, most of us don't face those same challenges. We have the freedom to think long term and build a better future if we choose to. Thinking long term is hard. Many people struggle to focus on the future because it feels uncertain and far away. Instead, they become distracted, seek quick fixes, or fail to create a compelling vision to guide them. Yet long-term thinking is one of the strongest predictors of success. It helps you make daily decisions that align with your ideal future. Remember, decisions are bets you make on the future you want. Long-term thinkers keep betting, even when their early efforts don't pan out. Over time, sticking to their plan allows them to create their own luck. When your daily actions are tied to a clear vision, your odds of success improve dramatically. In short, when you keep making calculated bets with a long-term perspective, you tend to win. To create luck, expand your time horizon, think in years, not days or weeks, and extraordinary results become more achievable. Here's how to overcome the present bias. Ask yourself, is what you're doing today moving you closer to where you want to be in the 10 years? If not, why not? Identify one thing you could do each day to make progress towards your long-term goals. Small, consistent actions tied to clear vision will help you achieve remarkable outcomes over time. Detail-oriented bias is a tendency to miss the forest for the trees. It's losing sight of the big picture and getting lost in distractions or pointless tasks. As Henry David Thoreau put it, it's not enough to be busy, so are the ants. Are you effective or are you merely efficient? Being effective means doing the right things, the ones that move the needle. Being efficient means doing things right, but doing unimportant tasks well won't necessarily bring you closer to your goals. Here are some examples of inefficiency. Cold calling thousands of people who aren't your target customers, spending weeks on a project that didn't need to be done, working on tasks that could have been delegated, creating overly detailed spreadsheets for simple needs. Being busy has become the norm. Ask yourself how they're doing and they'll tell you they're busy. But as Tim Ferriss said, being busy is a form of laziness, lazy thinking and indiscriminate action. Instead of taking pride in being busy, see it as a problem to solve. Stop and ask, am I being busy but not productive? What if being busy is the reason I'm not achieving anymore? What would happen if I stopped doing unnecessary tasks? Whenever I feel busy, I stop. It's often a sign I've lost track of my strategy. It could mean I've added ineffective tasks to my list, been distracted by irrelevant opportunities, or forgotten to delegate. Take a step back helps me refocus on what truly matters. To avoid detail-oriented bias, stop and ask yourself, what am I trying to accomplish here? Does this task move the needle forward? What would happen if I didn't do it? Am I the right person to do this? Should it be delegated or automated? Here's how to overcome detail-oriented bias. Write down ways you're being efficient but not effective. Identify specific changes to become more effective. Imagine business as illness. How would you cure it? By focusing on what truly matters, you'll make better decisions and achieve your goals faster. Emotional reasoning is the belief that you must feel like doing something in order to do it, but here's the truth. Just because you don't feel like asking for a raise doesn't mean you can't. Just because you feel nervous about asking someone out doesn't mean you shouldn't. Just because you don't feel like doing your taxes doesn't mean it's impossible. Think about it. We all do things we don't want to do every day. That's proof you can override emotional reasoning. This ability is called discipline. Discipline means doing what you should do, whether you feel like it or not. When you stop letting your emotions dictate your actions, you take control of your results. Remember, you are not your emotions. If feeling tired, frustrated, or even hopeless is normal, but it doesn't mean you can't take action. With practice, you can learn to override your emotions. To build discipline, start small, complete one task you've been avoiding, take a single step towards your goal, even when you don't feel like it. Each small win strengthens your ability to act no matter how you feel. Here's how to overcome emotional reasoning. Write down tasks you've been putting off because you don't feel like doing them. Identify one small step you can't take today to move forward. Remind yourself, you're not your emotions, your actions define your results. With enough discipline, you can achieve almost anything you set your mind to. Do you ever feel like people are constantly judging you? If so, you might be falling for the spotlight effect. The spotlight effect is the tendency to exaggerate how much others notice what you say and do. For example, you might think a group of people laughing must be laughing at you when they're not. They're likely not. Why do we experience the spotlight effect? The answer is simple. We spend 24/7 with ourselves. We are the center of our own world. So we assume that what matters to us must matter to everyone else too. That's why a small stain on your shirt might feel huge to you, but go completely unnoticed by others. Here's the reality. People aren't thinking about you nearly as much as you think. Most people are too busy worrying about what others think of them. So stop holding back because of fear or judgment. The truth is, people notice far less than you imagine. To break free from the spotlight effect, remind yourself, you're not the center of the world. People rarely notice everything you say, do, or feel. Most people are too focused on themselves to think about you, so stop worrying about what others might think and focus on designing the life you want instead. Here's how to overcome the spotlight effect. Pick one acquaintance, ask yourself, how often do you think about them throughout your day? Now flip the perspective. How often do you think they focus on you? The conclusion, most people aren't thinking about you nearly as much as you think. Focus on what matters to you. Our brain loves to find patterns. It helps us make sense of the complex world around us. But sometimes we see patterns that don't actually exist. This is called illusionary pattern perception. It's when we connect dots that shouldn't be connected, like finding shapes in the clouds or reading too much into coincidences. Consider history. Can we really pinpoint the exact cause of a war or revolution? Was it economic instability, social tension, religious beliefs, or just random events stacking up? Historians try to connect the dots, but sometimes the story oversimplifies reality. What really makes sense? Someone successful in business? What causes a person to succeed as an actor? What factors determine financial success? If your misidentity cause and effect, your decisions may be based on false connections. For example, assuming success comes purely from hard work while ignoring luck and timing, believing a certain diet works for everyone because it worked for one person, thinking a single marketing tactic guarantees business success when many factors are involved. To avoid this bias, challenge your assumptions and ask yourself, am I judging to conclusions too quickly? Do these factors actually influence one another? Is there more to the story? Here's how to break free from the illusionary pattern perception. Write down a decision you're about to make. Identify the patterns and assumptions you've made. Ask, are these patterns truly connected, or am I assuming they are? Clarifying cause and effect can help you make better data-driven decisions and avoid faulty thinking.